Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here, we don't sugarcoat, and not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and that sometimes includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. If you're new here, please know at this time I post weekly content. It's typically in 3 parts, although this week is the exception. The overall structure will remain the same, but I learned some new information on the topic that I picked for this week, and I'll get into that in a second. But the overall structure is part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed about the topic for the week. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood. It tends to be a deeper dive on what was covered in part 1. And part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. It's really focusing on taking all the insight and the understanding that we got from the earlier videos and focuses on how to turn that into action so that you can embody what that topic is really trying to do. Because if you don't apply it to your experience, nothing changes. So this week's topic is codependency. And as I was preparing the video for part 2 on codependency, it just became very clear to me that codependency is important, and I will do 3 parts for codependency, but it just became clear to me that you cannot talk about codependency without doing a deeper dive on self-abandonment as well. Part 2's video really showed me that codependency is the symptom. It's the outcome of self-abandonment. So before I dive into this message, I do just want to say this clearly. If something in this message resonates, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means something makes sense. Self-abandonment isn't a personal failure. It's something we learn when being fully ourselves didn't feel safe, supported, or possible. This message isn't here to shame you, nor to blame you. It's really here to help you recognize where you may have left yourself so you can gently come back. And that really is its intent. So let's go ahead and get into this part 3 series. I'm calling it Why It Gets Harder When You Start Breaking Codependency. So what needs to be understood? Codependency is often described as overgiving, taking responsibility for others' emotions, losing yourself in relationships, needing validation from the outside, being the strong one, the helper, the one who holds it all together. But that's not where this starts. Codependency isn't the origin. It's what develops after you've already started losing connection with yourself. Self-abandonment is when you stop being able to clearly feel, trust, or stay connected to yourself. So you begin relying on things outside of yourself to feel stable, certain, or okay. It usually doesn't feel dramatic. It shows up in small, everyday ways. You override what you feel to keep the peace. You look to others to confirm if your feelings are valid. You ignore your needs because something else feels more urgent. You act quickly to fix discomfort instead of understanding it. It's not that you don't have a self. It's that your connection to it has become inconsistent or hard to access. Self-abandonment usually begins long before codependency shows up in relationships. It can develop in environments where your feelings weren't acknowledged, so you learned to second guess them. You had to stay attuned to others to feel safe or accepted. Your needs were minimized, ignored, or felt like too much. Or being helpful, easy, or selfless was rewarded more than being authentic. Over time, this creates a quiet shift. Instead of checking in with yourself first, you started checking outside yourself to understand what's real, needed, or allowed. From there, codependency begins to make sense because relationships become the place where you find the stability you can't consistently create inside yourself. Where it starts, losing clarity inside yourself. Your inner signals get hard to read. Before anything shows up in relationships, something shifts internally. Your needs don't feel clear. Your emotions overlap or conflict. You feel a lot, but it's hard to sort through. It's like your inner world gets loud, but not clear. Everything starts to feel equally urgent. A small discomfort can feel overwhelming. A thought can feel like it needs immediate action. Emotional reactions feel like something you have to respond to right away. There's no clear sense of what actually matters most right now. You feel connected to yourself, and then you don't. Some moments you feel clear and grounded. Then it slips. Then you react. Then you try to regain control. It can feel like I have access to myself sometimes, but not consistently. You start to misread what's happening. When your inner experience gets unclear, it doesn't always feel like confusion. Sometimes it feels like maybe I don't really know myself, or maybe there's nothing solid here. You don't realize your signals are noisy. You start to believe yourself is missing. You stop trusting yourself. You begin to doubt your own experience. Your feelings don't feel fully reliable. Your intuition feels inconsistent. Your inner voice feels incomplete. So naturally, you start looking outside yourself for clarity. Feelings turn into immediate action instead of, let me understand what I feel. It becomes feeling anxiety, turning into fix something. Discomfort, turning into change something. Uncertainty, turning into reach for someone. Your feelings stop being something you listen to and start becoming something you react to. Relief becomes the goal. Your decisions start to revolve around getting rid of tension, avoiding discomfort, feeling stable again. Not necessarily what's true, what's right for you, and what actually aligns. When relief becomes the goal, those feelings just turn into immediate action when you should really be taking that time to pause. All right? What you do to cope, you start using action to feel stable. When your inner world doesn't feel steady, you fix, you manage, you respond, you take care of things and people. Doing something becomes the fastest way to feel grounded. You start to feel like you exist through what you do. I feel more like myself when I'm helping, or if I'm not doing something, I feel off. Your sense of self becomes tied to your role, not your presence. Overfunctioning isn't just about others. It's not just I help because they need me. It's also helping is when I feel the most steady. Caring for others gives you structure. When you're focused on someone else, things feel clearer. You know what to do, and you feel more organized internally. Helping becomes a way to feel like yourself again. Why relationships become central. This is where codependency comes in and becomes a symptom of self-abandonment. Again, this is not about blame or shame or anything of that sort. This is about what needs to be understood. This is where the two concepts connect. So again, why relationships become central. Other people become your anchor points. When you can't fully rely on yourself internally, relationships help you feel oriented. Feedback helps you feel certain. And connection helps you feel stable. They're not just important, they become necessary. It feels like you're okay, but something is off. Because relationships help regulate you, it can feel like I'm fine, I'm stable. But underneath, your stability depends on something outside of you. So it works, but it doesn't fully hold. You need to embody your stability. That's how it holds. How identity gets built. You become who you are in response to others. Instead of, I know who I am and I act from that, it becomes something happens. You respond. That response becomes part of your identity. Losing yourself gets reframed as being a good person. What's actually happening is you're overriding yourself, but it gets labeled as being caring, being selfless, being responsible, being mature. Disconnection starts to look like virtue, and you'd be really surprised how others fuel this distortion. The loop you get caught in, it tends to flow something like this. Your inner experience feels unclear. You don't fully trust what you feel. You act quickly to feel better. Helping or responding gives temporary stability. Relationships become your anchor. You rely on that more and more. Then your connection to yourself weakens further, and the cycle repeats. The deepest layers, this becomes your baseline. It's not something that happens under stress. It can start to feel like this is just how I am. It's hard to pause. Things feel urgent. Action feels necessary. And slowing down feels uncomfortable or unclear. So the pattern keeps running. Roles start to replace your sense of self. You become the helper, the fixer, the one people rely on, not because that's all you are, but because that's where you feel most solid. Doing becomes how you feel like you exist. When you act, you feel real. When you stop, things feel less clear. Coping starts to feel like identity. What helps you feel stable becomes, this is just who I am. The most important correction: you didn't lose yourself. You didn't lose yourself. You lost consistent access to it. It's still there. It's just not always easy to feel, trust, or stay connected to. The integrated message. Self-abandonment looks like losing clarity about what you feel, not fully trusting your inner experience, reacting quickly instead of reflecting, using action to feel stable, relying on others to feel grounded, building identity around roles and responses, and confusing disconnection with just who you are. Codependency is what grows out of this. It's the way you learn to feel stable, feel needed, and feel real through relationships when that stability isn't consistent inside of you. The final truth: you don't become disconnected from yourself because you're codependent. You become codependent because your connection to yourself stopped feeling clear, steady, and safe to trust. You are not missing a self. You just learned how to move away from it and how to rely on everything else instead. And if you learned self-abandonment and you learned codependency, you can unlearn them. You can unlearn them and replace them with something healthier, authentic, and truthful to you. And that is what I'm going to focus on in parts 4 and 5 this week. One will be focused on codependency, what needs to be done about codependency, and the other one will focus on what needs to be done about self-abandonment, because you cannot address one without the other. I started with codependency. It is clear as day to me that I cannot address codependency without putting a spotlight on self-abandonment, because that's really where it starts. So I know this may not be the easiest message to receive, babies, but it felt very necessary. So again, you did not lose yourself, all right? You can unlearn this and relearn something better, something healthier for you, something that feels true. So that content will be coming later this week. I will be updating the links in the description boxes for all available content so far. And that feels complete, so I'm going to leave that right there. Take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Until next time, bye.